What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. It's the Big Meer podcast. Welcome to the 2020 Doomsday podcast. That's literally going to be the title of this. I couldn't think of anything better, but I got somebody with me, make my life a little easier. Cheyenne, Chester, y'all know her. What's going on?
What's up?
It's been a minute. I gotta say, it's been a minute since I've done a podcast. It's been 2 minutes since you've been on the podcast. What is the third or fourth time, probably?
Yeah, shameful. I feel like I should be on here more.
I got you. We could definitely make that happen. But what's going on with you? You good? How your life been? You got some stuff you wanna tell the people? Cheyenne been out here doing big things, major things.
Haven't left my block since March, so that's always fun. I go to the bodega to get sandwiches at the end of my block, and it's like, you know, when you play those old like GTA games and they have like the invisible wall,
right?
Like that's how it feels. Like I can't get past my block because I haven't reached that level yet.
Oh my God.
I'm doing my master's right now. I go to the CUNY Journalism School in Times Square. I'm working at a local newspaper in the North Bronx, and so just trying to like report on as many stories as I can, get my name out there, and you know, working from home, doing all these phone calls and stuff. It's tough for my room, but I'm doing it. I'm just keeping busy.
Oh, for sure, man. That's beautiful. And I mean, you said you work for a newspaper, man. What a time to be working for any news publication at all with all this stuff coming out. Is literally, that's why it's called the 2020 Doomsday podcast, because like literally every month there is some sort of catastrophe. Every day. Yeah, you're right. Every day.
It's really crazy. A lot of us, you know, it's really hard doing like reporting from home just because it's harder to get in touch with people. It's less intimate because we're not speaking face to face. And all my classmates are doing our internships right now. I have friends that are working at CNN, at NBC, and they can't leave their homes. They have to do everything remotely. But you know, it's just something. Thankfully, I'm working at a local paper. I prefer local news anyway compared to like big news organizations. But I mean, even then, I try to put my own spin on things when I report on Corona, because I have reported on Corona, or COVID-19, I should say. I try to make it my specialty. I do arts reporting, so I report on things like, you know, film, TV, music, art galleries, sports. So I try to put my own fun twist on things, just because, I mean, not that what's going on is super fun, but you read a lot of things, a lot of news stories that feel super hopeless, and I don't think that's what news should be all the time. So it's really hard just because there's something new happening every day, and especially when you're working in the field, it can get super overwhelming because you're listening to people sharing their stories, and everybody's just going through a really rough time right now, and it's tough, but and you know, it's important just to tell these stories and to know that like it's not always going to be like this, hopefully.
You said something really interesting. You said because you're working from home with this news publication, that's harder for you. I actually think that's like an underrated thing, because most people think, these people are just at home reading other articles or copy and pasting other articles, and then they're publishing it and putting it out to the public. Journalism is very hard. I came up in journalism. I studied journalism pretty much all through high school. I wasn't able to hack it, but you have, like, it's really hard to get in touch with these people, even though we live in a world where everything is social media and you have everybody's number and you have everybody's information and emails, and you know what I'm saying?
It's really rough because especially, you'd be surprised how many journalists also like have social anxiety, which is like really weird because their whole job is talking to people. But it's really rough. Like I have to do like a whole thing when I get someone's number and I call them. I have to like psych myself up to have a conversation with them, just because I prefer talking in person, because in person it's harder to ignore me because I'm going to get up in your face, and it's just people feel, I don't know, more comfortable, where it's like on the phone, I feel like people are more likely to kind of like, can I curse?
Sure.
people are more likely to bullshit and like not really say what they mean, but like it's harder to kind of like, unless you're really good at lying, it's really hard to lie when I'm right there in your face. And it's not, no, journalism is one of the hardest things I've ever done, just because I'm telling a story, but I'm not the one giving the story, if that makes sense. I'm writing it down, but I'm not giving the information. I'm getting the information from someone else. And even when I do my own research, I can only put in so much if I'm not receiving from other people. So, I mean, anybody that's just taking things, you know, and just kind of like, I'm not sitting here lounging around in my house, just kind of like enjoying like quarantine and playing video games while like copy and pasting things, you know, like probably other people, but I certainly know I'm not. And I'm really like, I woke up at 7 a.m. this morning to talk to someone. I'm doing a story about food delivery for senior citizens because New York City, we're in phase 1 right now.
Wow, still in phase 1? Well, I guess that makes sense. You got the most people. So yeah, wow.
In the country.
Yeah,
we have the most.
Illinois, we in like phase 3 or 4. Like next week they're opening bars back up for dine-in. Like, it's really sad.
Yeah. Can't relate.
Yeah.
We're in phase 1 right now. Well, that's just New York City. I think New York State is probably in phase 2, or they think they're like a phase or a week ahead of us in schedule. But the city, you have to remember, we're all kind of like on top of each other, and so yeah. So now we're entering phase 1, but like there's a lot of food assistance programs that came from COVID, and so now people are worried. Oh, are these going to go away? Because if you're still immunocompromised, you still can't leave your house, even if things are starting to open up, because we're gonna get a second spike. So there's just a lot. It's been way harder now, like being at home, than like actually being on the ground and going outside. And I can't even do that because it's a respiratory disease, and I have respiratory issues. So even if I wanted to go outside, it's not safe for me to go outside right now.
Right.
So this year.
Yeah, no, this year sucks. Real quick with that, I want to get my little journalism story off since we talking about journalism. So yeah. I'm 16 years old at the time. I'm doing an internship, paid internship for a college, Columbia College in Chicago. It's like the biggest broadcast journalism art school in Chicago. Right. So
we were friends back then.
Yeah.
How long have you been friends? Since we were like 13?
Yeah, 2011, 2010 maybe. That would have been 2013 if I was 30. You know, I was 16.
Oh, wow. So we've been friends for like 10 years.
yeah, at least, or close to. So like I'm doing a story on like sports you probably wouldn't know about. So I'm going out and like you wouldn't believe how hard it is to get in touch with people who like do roller derby or like water volleyball or like cricket. Like I was recovering sports like that. Like it was incredibly hard to get those people. Like those people like had egos and stuff. I'm like, dude, you play cricket. Like relax. Like, but no,
for sure.
Yeah, journalism is crazy.
Yeah. I didn't really get into it until I was in college, because I originally wanted to major in English, but then I ended up majoring in journalism anyway, and then minoring in English when I went to college. And I didn't really get into it until college, and I wrote a bit for the school newspaper, not as much as I would have. But even then, with the school newspaper, you were just kind of limited to people in the school, and you really even though we were on our own, we still had people kind of like helping us along the way. And then when I went to grad school, it was just like, oh, I'm writing for the whole city now. Like, this is not the same. And I'm thankful the school that I'm in, it's an amazing program. They gave us like so many resources. And so I'm able to find people. I can find numbers. I can find, offices and addresses. And it's great, but it's still getting people to talk to me. Especially, I look like a child when I'm out in the streets. And sometimes that helps because people will pity me and be like, oh my God, a 12-year-old, yes, I'll help you with your story. I'm like, thank you, I'm 23, but okay. But it's really tough, but like the first story that I got published, and also when you're starting out, you don't, so I would love to write about sports and TV and stuff, which I kind of do now, like, I love doing stories about musicians, especially like up and coming ones, because they're very eager to talk to you because promotion, which is great for me because I love when people want to talk to me. But you kind of like get whatever story that your editor gives you. So I've done stories on, right now I'm doing one about food distribution. I've done stories on the environment, which like isn't really my bread and butter. But the first story that I ever got published was a story in Coney Island, Brooklyn, which is about a 2-hour train ride from where I live in the Bronx. So that sucked, going all the way down there. But it was about a creek in Coney Island, which is the only creek that they have there, I think, in southern Brooklyn. And me and a classmate of mine, we wrote the story together. And I think our story was like over 1,000 words, which is pretty long for a news article. And we spent over a month doing hardcore research on this story. Like, I could become an environmentalist based on all the information that I did on this freaking creek. Just talking to different people, talking to different organizations about, they want to put a ferry line on the creek because New York has a lot of different ferry ports. And Coney Island has this like little amusement park that's pretty much a ghost town when the amusement park isn't open. And so they want to bring more tourism during the Coney Island when there's no amusement park, because this town lose out on money during the off season. And so like the residents there were arguing against it, and the developers were like, no, we need it. And there was just so much in this one story. And then we spent another month after writing it, pitching it out to different places, because if writing and reporting is hard, pitching is way worse, especially when you're freelance, because because one, people aren't going to take it, or two, people might take it and won't pay you. But we got it pitched, and I got paid $25 for it, so yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, it's a hard knock life with journalism, but
it really is.
I guess let's go ahead and get into this year. Let's start with I guess January, right? January we were in World War III, correct? Like it was on the verge at least.
I was in Maryland. I was in Maryland for the first 2 weeks of January, and because my friend at the time worked at the NIH, the National Institution of Health, and which is in DC. And so I actually went down to like Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Monument. So I was near the White House when World War III happened, and I was
no.
joy, this is great.
I just remember that time, like I was like, man, like, okay, it's that time, but the internet they don't take anything seriously. Like I think I tweeted it at the time. I was like, yo, this is scary. This is real, and people, a lot of people could potentially die because of this, but I'm not gonna sit here and act like this hasn't produced the best memes I ever seen in my life. Like the memes were elite, top tier, like in January for the World War III.
The memes, like not to get ahead of ourselves, but the memes of 2020 are just like amazing.
It's legendary.
Just because it's like, what else could go?
Yeah, no, that was like it was like all World War III, and it was like next month, and all you saw was like the Akatsuki standing on a building. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have World War III, and then Kobe passed away later that month, and that sucked for me as a Kobe fan, as just a big basketball fan. That's how I don't really worry about celebrity too much, but that's one of the few celebrities where I was like, man, I just broke down, man. It was so sad. And then I would say too.
What was that? Like, me. I would say the same thing too. Like, me, I'm not a big basketball fan. Whenever you talked about basketball, I just really couldn't care less. But Kobe, he was different from other like basketball players. He was just like, you could tell during interviews, he was just a really like nice, down to earth, humble person. The way he talked about his family was always so beautiful, and the fact that with Gigi as well, like I could just feel the hurt from that family, and so I think it just hit everybody really hard, and it's still really like it baffles me that he's still not here.
Yeah, it's really weird, but man, the media in general, though, media from everywhere, every publication took a massive L that day, because at first it was just like Kobe died in a helicopter crash. It was like Kobe, his wife, and his kids all died in a helicopter. It was like Kobe and one of the daughters died in a helicopter. Like, people were just so eager to get the story out for the clicks and the traction that they weren't really doing their due diligence and putting out the correct story and putting out the correct people. Like, at first you only thought it was Kobe, and you figure out it's Kobe, his daughter, and then a whole nother family was on the helicopter too. Like, it wasn't just them.
I will say that's one of the downsides of the whole 24-hour news cycle, and also that's why one of the first things they teach you in journalism school is ethics. And, having good morals. And it just sucks because TMZ should not be the one to announce a person's death before their family finds out, which has happened on multiple occasions.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that. Yeah, they released it before his wife knew.
Before his wife knew. And there's a lot of criticism of the media focusing too much on Kobe and his daughter when, like you said, like a whole another family passed away. And I do understand, and that there should have been more done, but also you have to understand Kobe Bryant is a huge name, and so the story alone, I mean, and look what happened with Kobe Bryant's death. That was a whole month of just news on that, and so the whole point of news is because there's so many eyes on this one story that you have to get attention somehow, and so using Kobe as the lead and then mentioning the family somewhere else in the paragraph, that's just basic journalism, and that's unfortunately how it happens. But I do understand the criticisms of it. It's just unfortunately the case.
I understand. For obvious reasons. Obviously, Kobe would lead that story. It was just the oh my God, Kobe died. I have to put this out right now, and I have no idea what's really going on or what really happened. Kobe could have probably survived, and we wouldn't have known because they kept saying he was dead. Like, nobody really knew. You know what I'm saying? Nobody was really putting out the correct information.
Yeah, that's the thing too that bugs me. The race to get the story first. That you're kind of putting information or correct information to the back burner just because you want to get to the story first. I really wish that's one of my big gripes with mainstream news. Is they all play that game, and it's I could talk all day about how much
it's gross. It's really gross. Like,
it's super gross. Yeah.
So did anything weird happen in February? February is pretty much Kobe, a lot of Kobe coverage because he died at the end of January, but anything else happened in February?
Well, then it was his memorial service, right? I don't know if that was still in January or February, but the whole, what's it called? What's her name? Oprah Winfrey, Gayle King. The whole Gayle King situation.
What happened with, what situation was that? Because she's been in a couple of things.
The one where she interviewed, I forget her name, I'm so sorry, the WNBA player.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I forgot her name. I want to say Candace Parker, but I'm not 100% sure. But she brought the allegations up, and it was totally gross and unnecessary and uncalled for, and it was very disrespectful. And whoever that WNBA player was, we got to give her credit for the way she handled it. She handled it with such class, and she was very professional with her response. Whether it was me or I'm pretty sure anybody else or anybody that was close to him would have been like, bitch, don't ever ask me something like that. Like that would have been like the common response, I'm sure, for most people. But she handled that with class.
I think there's no reason for her to ask that question. I think the way I personally have no problem with the way she phrased it. I wish she never asked it in general because I'm so upset that I'm forgetting this woman's name and I feel really bad. But the WNBA player, when she said he was never like that around me, and so I don't know him to be that person. And Gail responded, well, unfortunately, if it was true, you wouldn't know that because he wasn't. Just because he wasn't like that around you doesn't mean he wasn't like that. You know what I mean? And that's I think that's a valid thing to point out. But I think also with Kobe, who has atoned for that situation so many times publicly and has apologized and has explained it and really asked for forgiveness so many times, and he just passed away with his child. not the time to bring it up. Absolutely not. It should have. It had nothing. The interview really had nothing to do with it. Too.
His child, who was a female, by the way, and he was the coach for their women's basketball team.
And also, that's the thing. Like, Kobe was a champion for women in sports as well. That's why they had that interview, because she was a WNBA player who was very close with Kobe Bryant, and Kobe Bryant has a history of championing women in sports, including his daughter, including the whole school that he had for girls who wanted to play basketball. And so I could understand why she thought that, I'm just speaking from a journalist, I can understand why she perhaps had that angle, and it's cool to have that, but actually doing it, I don't think she should have gotten as much vitriol, because I think, even though I don't agree with the doing of it, I think she handled it personally, professionally. The way she phrased things just should not have been said.
No, absolutely not. But that's kind of her angle now, her and Oprah, is that they kind of attack famous black people who have had some sort of allegation towards them, because the R. Kelly thing blew up in the Gayle King R. Kelly interview, which was absolutely hilarious, by the way. R. Kelly deserves everything that is happening to him right now, but that blew up.
There's a difference, though. R. Kelly's not... No friend of mine.
No, absolutely not. I'm just saying, it's the fact that blew up, and now it's become like a gimmick almost, because after R. Kelly, now we're gonna go dig up the Michael Jackson stuff, which he was already, which the kids that, you know, that was a part of all that said, all of our parents set it up. It's recordings of the parents talking about how they found the most vicious lawyers, and they're going to tell you, this guy's never going to sell another record again. They dug that back up. And then, like, you know, with the Kobe thing, it was just, I don't know, like that, they've been real weird over the past year.
There's a different standard now, because the thing is, Kobe and Michael aren't here to defend themselves, whereas R. Kelly, like, even though I personally don't like R. Kelly, he's there to defend himself, and he does defend himself, whereas, not saying that you can't talk about those things, because there are people who still very much believe that Kobe did those things, and based on whether or not their own personal experiences through trauma they had, they're fine to believe those things. That doesn't bother me. But, I mean, just looking at, and obviously I didn't know Kobe, but just looking at, like, the facts that I've been presented with, and how he has been in public, and how he has kind of, like, has asked for forgiveness so many times, and you've never really heard an accusation like that after the fact. Nothing ever came out afterward. So it wasn't, like, a repeated pattern, if that makes sense.
Right.
I personally just don't think that it happened, and also I just don't think it's something, at least in an interview like that, where it has nothing to do with it, where it's just about Kobe and women in sports, that question should have just never have been asked.
Absolutely not. But I think, more to wrap that up, I just think the point I'm trying to make is that if the R. Kelly thing didn't blow up the way it did and gain the type of traction the way it did when it happened, then that question would have never got asked. That's kind of like my point. That's kind of my point, because they did it to Michael Jackson, and then they kind of she tried to make an attempt on Kobe, and it backfired in a major way. And everybody, including other celebrities, we saw the Snoop Dogg clip and the Boosie clip and all types of stuff. So, I think it finally backfired. Like, yo, lay off. Like, the man is gone.
Yeah.
Like, relax. So we get into March, and we get into March, and pretty much that's when COVID really, really takes over. According to, like, things I've been seeing, COVID has been around since, like, November, but it didn't really blow up until March. Is that correct?
So the country, the president knew about it in November, allegedly, but it's highly speculated that he knew about it in November, because I think that's when it started happening in Wuhan. And so what the problem was, I think what the issue was, that it was happening in Wuhan, and then it was right around the time of, I think, Chinese New Year. I might be wrong, but it was happening at a time where a lot of Asian Americans and Asian people or Chinese people were coming to China to celebrate, I want to say Chinese New Year, I could be wrong, and then we're coming back, so there was a lot of back and forth in between China and the rest of the world. And so it was very, this super contagious virus, what's going on, we should keep an eye on it. The U.S. didn't take it that seriously, and then we started getting cases like it, I think in February, kind of, and then late February, early March, and then I want to say March 11th, at least here in New York, the state shut down.
Right, yeah. It was about a couple days later for us, but yeah, it was about mid-March where everything just kind of shut down. It was like, yo, stay in the house.
It was actually kind of funny because, so I go to CUNY, which is the City University of New York. It's a big, if you don't know, it's a big organization of different universities and colleges. It's public colleges. And so there's CUNY and there's SUNY, which is State University of New York, outside of New York City. And so all the other private colleges closed down. So my alma mater, Manhattan College, they closed down. Fordham University closed down. All the private universities in New York closed down. We were still open because we're public. And we were really pissed at the CUNY chancellor and Governor Cuomo. We're like, guys, we're most susceptible to this virus because most of us commute, most of us take public transportation. Public transportation is gross. We're a public university. You have to close us down. And so we were all kind of thinking, okay, the school gets closed down. We'll just, because nobody expected this. We're just, okay, yeah, we're just going to get closed down for a week. Governor Cuomo goes on TV and he's like, yeah, guys, no more CUNY for the rest of the semester. And we're like, oh,
right.
It's like that.
Are you supposed to go back next year?
And then university. I have no idea what the plan is. I would love to go back. I hate working from home and doing classes from home. I don't take it seriously. I got Stardew Valley, and so I don't go on camera during class, and so I would literally play Stardew Valley while I was in class because I wasn't on camera.
Right.
I can't be my own boss because I'm full of crap. I have no discipline. I have to be, and also like my school has an amazing newsroom. We have like so much equipment that we use at the school that we just don't have access to right now, and it's now harder to do my job. I'm actually taking a podcast workshop next semester that I'm really looking forward to, and I would love to be able to use the equipment that we have at the school. So, and I would also love to do my capstone at the school and not here at home. Okay. So I don't know what the plan is right now, but I'm hoping we can go back.
Yeah, I'm curious about that because they're talking about all schools, not just high schools, colleges, like grade schools, like little kids are like on their tablets, on class, like on Zoom.
Yeah. We called we emailed the New York Department of Education because I live with my niece. She's 4, so she's in kindergarten right now, or pre-K. No, kindergarten. I don't know. Pre-K? Who cares? And she has schoolwork. She's learning how to write, and we have to print out worksheets and stuff for her now. So we actually did just get an iPad from the Department of Education here in New York. Oh, okay. And so it's pretty wild.
So let me ask you, because it took me a while. Guilty of it. I'm one of those dudes. I was like, yo, this COVID thing is propaganda. This is not really like they're trying to scare you. I was one of those dudes at first. It took me
a pandemic.
Yeah, it took me a pandemic. It took me a couple weeks to really take it seriously. It took a basketball player for me to be like, yo, we need to do something about this. Like, so things are going on like that. We know like this is like things are still open, but COVID is running rampant, and like I'm not buying it. We're going to restaurants, we're going to stores, we're going to the malls, whatever. We living our lives, right? And I'm not, I don't feel sick. I don't know nobody with it, so like I'm just like, man, look, this isn't real. So a basketball player named Rudy Gobert gets it, and I'm like, man, Rudy Gobert from France. Probably caught it traveling, whatever, right? So I'm not worried about this. And then his teammate Donovan Mitchell got it, and that's when I took it seriously. They tested him. It was like Donovan Mitchell got it, and then they were like he didn't have any symptoms. And then I really got scared. I was like, I've been outside this whole time. Like after that, I was in the house.
I was like that in the beginning too, because I didn't really know what the symptoms were at the time. I thought it was more.
It sounded like the flu.
It's flu-like symptoms. And I was like, okay, like, whatever. I get a flu shot every year. I'm fine. I was like, okay, I'm fairly young. The only reason I didn't really go out because my everything shut down. I have a friend whose father just recently beat cancer, and so she didn't feel comfortable going outside and possibly exposing her dad, and like she's my closest friend, so then I didn't really go outside either because I'm like, all my friends are staying home anyway, so whatever. And then my school had a policy, because we're all journalists, where we weren't, if it was for school, we weren't allowed to report outside because they wouldn't accept it, so to do all of reporting at home. So then I'm like, all right, well then I'm doubly not going outside if it's going to mess with my schoolwork. So I was staying home, and then when I realized that it was a respiratory thing, I was like, oh, well, I have asthma, I had bronchitis a couple months ago, I got really, really sick, so I shouldn't really be going outside. And it's just, I'm really thankful that I live in a house, not an apartment. If I was cooped up in an apartment with my family, I would have, so at least if I want to go outside and get some quote-unquote fresh air, I can go to my backyard. But I think when everything really started closing down, and then when wrestling was performing with no crowds, I was like, wow, this is really serious.
Right. What was that? So that's smart. Did anything happen? Were the Killer Hornets April, or was that May?
I
think that was April.
Timeline of 2020. Killer Hornets does sound like April.
I think that was April. Either way, that was weird. Not much on that though. Did anybody die? Did anybody get killed by the Killer Hornets?
It was like a meme, and then they just kind of disappeared.
Yeah, it just kind of that came and went, but it was still like, God damn it, like really, like, like what more do you want from me? Type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then to fast forward, I guess a little bit now, we have the whole from where I could say where it really started to blow up was the Ahmaud Arbery jogging tragedy. Is this man, Ahmaud Arbery, black man, jogging. Two redneck white dudes just came out, shoot him. I guess they said they thought he stole something, and that's why he was running or something.
Yeah.
Like, it was ridiculous.
Well, apparently, they have footage of him. I guess there was a house under construction around where he was jogging, and I guess he went up to it. Cause I guess it was open or whatever, and he kind of looked at it, and there's footage of him looking inside, but there's no footage of him taking anything. And so I guess these people thought that he stole something. So I guess they took it upon themselves to stop him instead of calling the police like one would do in a situation. I don't know, maybe that's just me, or I think things like this baffle me, right? Because I live in New York. I mean, I don't know how the state is. That's a misconception. New York State is very different from New York City. So I live in the city, and whenever I see these videos of these white people going up to black people, going into buildings and being like, do you live there? I have no idea who my neighbors are. I've lived in this house for 24, almost 20 years I've lived in this house. I have no idea who my neighbors are. I maybe know one. There's 2 apartment buildings on either side of my block, so I have a bunch of neighbors, I guess, if you count. And so people come and go from these apartment buildings all the time. I have no idea who they are. I'm not going to question people. You know, I just mind my business because who cares? And I don't know what it is. These people think that they're vigilantes, but it's just something that I never understood. So I guess these people just came, thought he stole something, and were like, we're going to take the law into our own hands.
Right, yeah. Very, very weird situation. I was like, God damn, I can't jog now? Like, shit, like, you know,
yeah.
Every time something like this is like, God damn, you can't jog, you can't drive, you can't jaywalk, you can't wear a hoodie, you can't, like, you really can't do nothing. Like, I don't know, I don't think I've ever told you this, but, like, growing up, young black dude in the city of Chicago, I have, like, a guideline. Like, you know how kids usually grow up and they're like, the police are your friends, and if you ever need them, you need to call them. If you see something crazy, you need to call them. If you see somebody doing something illegal, you need to call them. Whereas where I grew up, it's total opposite. It was like, okay, look, if you see the police, act as normal and non-threatening as possible. No hands in the pocket, no hood on, walk straight, pants up, like a rule book on how to act when the police are in the vicinity. Not because I'm doing something wrong, just in case they're around. You know what I'm saying?
It's like that here too. I grew up when I was growing up. The mayor when I was growing up was Bloomberg, who thankfully didn't become our Democratic nominee, but we're not going to get into that. The mayor I had growing up was Bloomberg, who I don't know. I think Giuliani proposed it and Bloomberg enforced it. the whole stop and frisk thing, where the police pretty much had the right to just stop people on the street.
And it all was, they was only stopping like black people, right?
Usually black and Latino boys, stopping them on the street and frisking them just to make sure that they didn't have anything on them, which it goes against your rights. And they're like, oh no, crime went down because da-da-da-da-da, and it's so equal, but it was mostly, you have high police activity in these neighborhoods. So it was extremely targeted at those communities. And I think, I want to say 2013 is when, 2013, 2014 is when we got rid of that, when the new mayor came in, who I also hate. That's besides the point. But yeah, so growing up, you know, my brothers, I have two older brothers, that was very much the same way. It's kind of like, you know, always make sure your hands are visible, just try to look as normal as possible, even though you didn't do anything, just eyes forward. It's terrifying.
Yeah, no, it really is scary. You feel that way, like, you know, for no reason I shouldn't feel this way, but if I'm walking or if I'm driving, the police is near, the pressure is like on. Whether they drive past me or not, I'm making sure I'm doing the speed limit. I'm making sure, I would rather them be behind, I would rather be behind them, but if they're in front of me, or if they're behind me, I should say, I'm really, really driving like extra cautious, even more than I usually do anyway. It's really like, I feel like I'm in a life or death situation every time they're near me, whether they say anything to me or not. You know what I'm saying? Then we get the George Floyd thing, which did that not go well for any party. Any party. It didn't go well for the police. Obviously, those 4 police officers, and rightfully so, lost their livelihoods due to this. A man lost his life. Black people around the world still cannot, the country still can't trust the police. Minnesota is on fire. The country is on fire. Stores are being vandalized. Like, this took America down. It got really ugly. It still is ugly. We're still pretty much in the middle of it. Breonna Taylor right after that, and then Rayshard Brooks right after that, and it's like, what's going on? What's your stance on this whole police brutality thing that's going on in the country?
It's interesting, right? So the first time growing up in New York, I've grown up around people that look like me in my entire life. It wasn't until I went to college that I actually went to school with white people, and then I realized that I actually, like, what being a minority actually was. But a little bit before that was, I think I was 16, 17 when Trayvon Martin happened, and I watched that entire case because it played out on TV. I watched that entire case from beginning to end, and when his murderer was found not guilty, that was the first time that I really felt that the justice system wasn't made for people that looked like me, which is probably, I don't know, maybe it just shows how sheltered I was, that it took me all those years to figure it out, but that really did open my eyes. And then going to school. And
real quick, not to cut you off, real quick, what are you, just for the people, like, what are you, like, ethnicity?
So, I'm Dominican, so I'm Afro-Latina. A lot of Dominicans don't like to acknowledge the fact that they're black because there's a lot of racism in the Latino culture, unfortunately. But Dominicans are black. Cardi B is black. I'm black. Thank you. If you're Dominican, you're black. Sorry.
I just want you to break that down real quick because I knew that would be your answer. But go ahead, because I don't want anybody to look like, because obviously you're going to be tagged in this. I don't want anybody to look at you and be like, who is this Mexican girl talking about black issues? Like, I don't need that. Like, nobody needs that. So
it makes no sense. You and I probably have the same hair texture. It makes no sense for me to be like, I'm not black when come on. There's but yeah, I know you knew that, but yeah, thank you for asking. Okay. Anyways, so when Trayvon Martin happened, and then I went to school, I my whole education was public school. I was very lucky to go to a private college for undergrad. And so both of those things happening near around the same time was kind of a culture shock, and I was like, oh, I really am a minority, and like white privilege exists, and learning all these things and becoming more educated, and it was just kind of like, whoa. And then I remember, I think the first time I heard Black Lives Matter was Michael Brown.
I want to say
Eric Gardner and Michael Brown.
It was whichever one came first. It was around that though, yeah.
Yeah, and it sucks that these things are so common that it's like, oh, not this one, but that other hashtag. But
right, yeah.
And so when those things happened, and Black people on Twitter was doing the whole hashtag Black Lives Matter, and it was just really like a super controversial. I mean, still now, but back then, it was like 2014. I think was the first time I heard it. Like, just the fact that was so like controversial, and then calling Kaepernick later kneeling during the national anthem, and all these things happening right as I was becoming a young adult, really just shaped my identity and who I am now. And now seeing it where it's now become, for better or for worse, trendy to now be pro Black Lives Matter, and all these companies, the NFL backing Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, did you see Roger Goodell's video on him pretty much admitting that that Kaepernick was right without saying Kaepernick's name? Absolutely disgusting. Yeah. Did you see that?
And yeah. I don't even like football. And so now seeing all these things happening X amount of years later, because another Black person had to die for people to kind of get it, not fully, but for now it to become a thing. And this is the first time where I truly feel like these protests are doing something, because before, not that they weren't organized or anything, just nobody was listening to us. And now they're a little more organized. Now, you have kids on TikTok making TikTok videos about this. Like, it's beautiful, and it's sad that it had to happen now. It should have happened. It should have happened back in the 90s with Rodney King. Should have happened like during the civil rights movement.
Technically, the Rodney King. Technically, it did, because the LA riots were crazy. I don't know if you ever heard of LA riots. It got bad, like how it was like a couple weeks ago. But in fact, it was kind of worse, because Black people were like dragging white people out of their cars and like beating the shit out of white people just for who they didn't even know. Like, it was like that, because of the Rodney King thing.
Not even the sense of like how big the riots were. I mean, the sense of if there's going to be an actual legislative change coming from the end of it.
Oh, well, then in that case, yeah, absolutely.
That's what I mean. So our mayor Bill de Blasio, he's the mayor of New York City. He better stick to this promise, because New York City, and I have a joke at the end of this, but he promises that, the whole defund the police movement came out of this. I think Minneapolis did defund, abolish their police, and now they're rebuilding it from the ground up. We have, I don't know the right number. I think it's like a $6 billion budget for the city, because the census just happened. Fill out your census, and so Bill de Blasio actually did make a promise to defund the NYPD. It's funny, New York City is probably one of the more liberal places in the country, I'd say, and we have one of the most oppressive police systems. The NYPD is famous. The NYPD is bigger than most countries' armies. The NYPD trains other states' police forces,
See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, no, the NYPD is well regarded. It's one of the most, super, people fly from all over the country to join the NYPD. It's prestigious. For lack of, you see them. I don't know anything about guns, but if you ever go to Times Square, you have the NYPD officers with their big boy guns. It's wild.
Right.
And so the idea of actually giving them less money and cutting their budget basically and putting it into better programs, into education, into youth services, into homelessness. Our homeless situation is ridiculous, especially during COVID. And so I'm hoping he actually does stick to this. And also, so Governor Cuomo, I think today was his last day. Every day for the past 100 and some odd days since COVID happened, or in New York at least, he's been doing these daily briefings, these live streams, just going, here's the cases that we have today, here's the deaths, here's what we're doing, here's what we're working on. He talked about the protest, and he made a point to be like, listen, protest is different from looting. This is why they're angry. And I maybe shouldn't always believe everything a politician says, but I'm like really hoping that he is taking it seriously. We vote on Tuesday, and so it's just for the first time I really feel like people are listening to what we have to say. That doesn't mean just because it's not trending anymore, it doesn't mean that you have to stop. It just means you have to keep going even harder. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to go outside to protest, but I've been reading, I've been sharing things, signing petitions, donating, just trying to do as much as I can. Because even though I am a person of color, I'm a black woman. I'm still Latino, and so there is that. I do have a history in my family, in my culture, of anti-blackness and kind of like not ignoring the black lived experience, because I'm like, oh no, I'm Latino, I'm different, blah, blah, blah. And so it's still educating me, educating my friends, and it's amazing. I think it had to happen at this time during quarantine when we're all home. And I think it gives us more time to kind of reflect and look inward.
And plus, like, for people, and obviously, we need to hear this. We need to know this because it's our history, obviously. But more importantly, like a great organizing group out here in suburbs of Chicago, they invited me out to speak. Pretty much, if you listen to this, you probably heard that clip. And I was like, I kind of was like, since we're quarantined, like, you can't escape this now. Like, the people who need to hear it, the people who think it's okay to rebut with all lives matter when somebody is talking about black life, those are the people that need to hear this. You and I, we're gonna be good. We get it. We know what's going on, and we're gonna do our part. And people who look like us are gonna do their part. But it's the people out there that's like, that uses any and everything to escape from it and avoid it, that have nowhere to go now. You have to hear this. You're going to hear this. You're going to understand this, whether you like it or not now. And sometimes it does have to be shoved down these people's throats. Because, like I said in my speech a couple weeks ago, I said, we live with these people. We still have to live with these people, whether it's family, neighbors, co-workers, classmates, doesn't matter. We live with these people, and me personally, I don't want somebody with that type of mindset that close to me. You know what I'm saying? So like, we gotta keep pushing that message, and at least have people understand. You ain't gotta like it, but as long as you understand, then that's good enough for me, because at least I know you're not gonna do anything stupid or say anything stupid to me. Yeah. So just to clarify one thing, by the way, and you mentioned it with the with Cuomo, protesters and looters are two totally different audiences. And you can tell one group of people was in the streets with their signs, another group of people have no signs, and they're breaking into stores and all that. It's two different groups. That's another L the media had to take, is, oh my God, they're looting. The protesters are looting. The protesters are not looting. Trust me. Those are totally different people. You know who they are. I know who they are.
It was where I live in the Bronx. About a 10-minute drive is a place called Fordham Plaza. It's where Fordham University is right there. And then it's a huge outdoor shopping district for the Bronx. A couple weeks ago, it got looted, ransacked. Super. I used to commute there. I used to pass through there for all 4 years of college when I would take the bus there. And so the fact that knowing a place really close to me was attacked like that and looted, and there's so much media coverage about that. But what a lot of places didn't really cover is that the next day, a lot of people came from the neighborhood to help clean up. A lot of people who didn't even live in the neighborhood came to help clean up. Just people doing it on their own because it's their communities. They want to help. And it's really sad that some of these businesses might not be able to open back up once, restrictions ease up again. But there is a fundamental difference between looters. There's always going to be, no matter what, there's always going to be people taking advantage of a situation, because that's just, unfortunately, people are shitty like that. But the anger and from protesters is completely different. They're angry because people just, would prefer to not die like that.
two totally different crowds. Like I said, it's two totally different crowds. It's like, think of yourself in a high school. You got your nerds and you got your jocks. They go to the same school. There's two totally different audiences. But I guess we could wrap this up now. We said we were gonna go 40. We went 50. We at 50 right now.
Wow, we didn't even get to talk about wrestling.
We didn't even get to talk about. We could do 10 minutes on wrestling if you down. I know you got a place to be. You're busy. You're a busy woman.
I'm busy. I mean, if maybe you could just break it up into 2 episodes, like a little segment about wrestling.
Okay, so pretty much we can run through it real quick. So pretty much there's like a rape, woman abuse ring going on in the wrestling community, mostly with the British wrestlers, right? Like most of them are British.
Wrestling's getting Me Too'd right now, which I didn't think would happen this late in the game, but I guess all right. Ugh.
Yeah, so like,
I'm not a great wrestling fan right now because first of all, oh god, right? So first of all, everything's closing down because Corona. We had a weird but still really cool WrestleMania, thank God. And then you know the Black Lives Matter thing happened, and then you find out which one of your favorite wrestlers are racist, and you're like, dang it. And now you're finding out that one of them could also be an abuser, and you're just like, come on, let me have this one thing.
Right, yeah, because nothing else is going on but pro wrestling and UFC. I know you're not a UFC fan, but look, like I got a DM from one of my guys, Vaughn. He was like, "Yo, what's going on with all these wrestlers raping people?" And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Send me whatever you're talking about." So he sends it to me. I read it. I immediately send it to you. Like, do you know anything about this? Like, what is this? Mm-hmm. So I guess go ahead.
It's not like I'm sorry. It's not like this is like a new thing. Obviously, it's unfortunately it's been a thing since ever. Every sport, every form of media has this past, and it's really sad. And I wish it didn't have, for men and for women and for whatever gender people identify as. Anybody could be a victim. Anybody could be an abuser. And so it's just now this is coming out. Again, I'm surprised it came out so, like, now, because I feel like if anybody should have been Me Too from the beginning, other than Hollywood, it should definitely be wrestling.
You know what? And that's one thing I was thinking about earlier. I was like, should I be surprised? Not surprised that this is happening, but the amount of people, the amount of names that's being thrown around is shocking. It's like, wow, a lot of these dudes are doing this. I could see maybe 3, 4, but like, I mean, we in like the 10s. Like, it's like 10, 12, 15 names being thrown around for accusations of abuse, rape, pedophilia, like all types of weird shit. Like,
the first time I heard about it this year was when it was back in January. When I was I remember because I was in Maryland. I was in Virginia. I was at a mall in Virginia with my friend, and it was about Rory Gulak, Drew Gulak's brother. And do you remember that? Remember this?
Nah, I don't pay attention to Drew Gulak, but yeah, go ahead.
I don't either, but my friend messaged me and he was like, "Did you see this? This is really gross." So apparently, Rory Gulak and this girl, I guess they were DMing each other or sexting each other, whatever. She was of age, and they were sexting each other. And he apparently had some really weird, not cool fetishes relating to like children or something. And so everybody was just like, "That's not cool. What the fuck, Rory?" And especially because his last name related to Drew, and everybody was like, "Is this going to mess up Drew's career?" Fine, until he got fired or furloughed or whatever it is they're doing with all these people now. So that happened, and then that kind of just went off and faded into nothing, like most of these things do. It was actually because I was thinking about it the other day when all these wrestlers were getting canceled or whatever you call it. I hate cancel culture, but we're getting canceled. And I was like, God, remember Rory Gulak? It seems like so long ago. It was in January, because that's how crazy this year is.
Yeah, it's been a long year, and it's only June. So, like, did you know about a dude named David Starr? Because it started with him from yesterday, at least.
Yeah,
like, I didn't know who he was. I had to Google him.
I know who he is. But I thought because Pete Dunne came up, and I was like, why? What happened? But Pete Dunne is good. It was just Pete Dunne saying, I guess he teamed with him or he worked with him or something, and Pete Dunne was like, I've been saying this guy was an asshole. I didn't know that he was an abuser, but I'm not surprised. I guess people were accusing Pete Dunne of being quiet, but it was just he didn't know.
Yeah, and Pete Dunne said he didn't know, for the record.
Yeah. For the record, Pete Dunne said, he just said, this guy's an asshole. I didn't know he was also an abuser. Which, so that happened. And then I think the next person was Jordan Devlin.
Yeah, he was the Cruiserweight champion not too long ago, or like currently, I don't know. But he was the Cruiserweight champion like 100%, like recently.
Yeah.
And his accuser posted pictures of a bunch of bruises and said that he was the cause of it, and that was very disturbing to see. You never want to see some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that was really weird. And a couple other names like Joey Ryan, Matt Riddle, Justin Roberts.
Yeah. It's like I said, these things do happen. I think it's just coming face to face with it. And then being like, this is the thing that I choose, this is the entertainment or whatever that I choose to support. And it does make it really exhausting because there are good people. There's so many good people in wrestling. But it's just that the shitty ones just make it so much worse for people who are just trying to enjoy it. And wrestling is great when there aren't awful fucking people in it.
Right. And that's one thing I want to kind of throw out there, because this is everything we're talking about right now is new information with this, especially with this. It's all brand new, like it's dropping right now information. Yeah. So like what I want people to do mainly, and it really frustrates me because people are people and people just like to say things and they don't really know. I say let's not victim blame people because these dudes have good matches. That's the weirdest thing of all time to me, is because people can wrestle well. Then you can't say anything about them as a person. If they're a disgusting person, like these, it's the same audience of people that want Chris Benoit to be celebrated in a Hall of Fame. You know what I'm saying? So like wrestling fans are weird as they are. They, you shouldn't blame a victim because you like the way somebody wrestled. And then on the other hand, people shouldn't bury these guys because of accusations. I'm a guy that I like to wait on information to come out. I don't want to come on here and be like, David Starr is a creep and he did this and he did that, because at the end of the day, I don't really know. You know what I'm saying? like I had to Google the guy to know who he was. Like this could possibly not be true, just as it could, possibly be true. Like we don't really know. But people are so quick to, get their jokes off and get their memes off and automatically, oh no, this dude's a pervert, or oh, shut up, you just want some fame. And it's like, come on, like on both sides,
I never, and maybe I'm biased because I'm a woman, but whatever, I just never really understand. And I'm not saying that false accusations don't happen. They absolutely do happen. And fuck anybody, man, woman, whoever, that falsely accuses someone of that, because not only are you potentially ruining someone's life, but you're also just invalidating every actual true accusation that does come afterwards.
It makes
Don't do that.
Yeah, it makes it harder for the next woman who actually got abused or whatever.
But I can't imagine the fear of a wrestler. Like, who the fuck cares about a wrestler? Like some D-list celebrity. But it's still
if that.
It's like I can't imagine the fear of knowing something like that happened to you, and then being like, should I keep it to myself or risk the, especially if you're a wrestler yourself, risk the potential of ruining my own career by outing this person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I think some people just don't understand. Well, how come it's just it's so convenient that all these things are happening all at once? That's just the way things work. Whenever the first person becomes brave enough to tell their story, whether or not their response is generally positive and supportive, it makes other people feel like, well, maybe I can share my story too, and it's just a domino effect. That's just how it happens. So it's not like all these people strategically were like, well, we're going to call out this, and this person. It's just people, monkey see, monkey do. People will see someone do something and they're like, oh, maybe it's safe for me to come out with my story, and that's why these things are happening. And if all these stories are true, and all these accusations, anybody that has actually committed these crimes and these assaults on people, get out. You can't be in the sport anymore. I'm sorry.
Nah, yeah, it's really that simple, and I don't care who you work for. I don't care who you're friends with, and if anybody is booking you, because you know a lot of wrestling bookers, man. If you got a name, they're going to book you just because you know they're gross. You know what I'm saying? So anybody booking these guys after it comes out that is true, you know, you're just as bad because you're allowing these people to eat in the industry that they don't belong in. At the end of the day, so it's really strange. It's really sad. Like I said, I love pro wrestling, but really this year as of late, man, it's been hard to watch, or I'm not watching at all because these guys are racist, or you know, we've always known that they've been on that side of politics. And politics, usually political views don't really bother me because it is what it is. Like you know, rich white men are gonna vote for Donald Trump, like for the most part. Like I expect it. I don't expect anything else.
Wrestling is made for the, despite how many, you know, queer, black, indigenous people of color there are, and wrestling fans there are, and like that number is growing, like women wrestling fans, minority wrestling fans, that number is growing. It still has always been really tailor-made for straight, white, conservative men. And like, listen, that's fine. That doesn't bother me, because I still found enjoyment in it. I will always find enjoyment in it. But you do have to understand, it's like watching The Bachelor. I love The Bachelor, but I know that it's made for, like, Southern white women. And that doesn't bother me. As long as I don't know that the Bachelorette is a Trump supporter, I'm fine. And if she is, that's cool. I just really don't want to hear it while she's giving out roses, you know? So I don't really care. It's just when these people are now, like when the Black Lives Matter situation happened and these wrestlers are faced with, how does Randy Orton talk about Black Lives Matter and be like, you know what, I finally get it, and you guys can't? How does Randy Orton of all people be like, you know what, guys, Black lives do matter, and I'm really sorry for all these things that I said. Why can't others just do that?
Yeah, when Randy Orton said, I was like, okay, this is like, man, he is the last person I would have expected to say anything like that. But at the same time, like the job guy from SmackDown, Riker, like in the middle, the world is on fire. George Floyd just got, you know, murdered by the police. Riots, looting, protests, things are on fire. The country is on fire. And this dude is like, man, I really love how Trump is handling this. God bless our president. I was like, oh man. Just say fuck black people. Like that, like I really have a lot more respect for a lot of these guys if they just said, you know, just straight up just said that all you saying translation, fuck these black people.
I really don't care. I don't think guys like that should not lose. I don't think guys like that should lose their push or whatever they have just because they support Donald Trump. Really don't care.
No, he should lose his push because I don't know if you followed up on that, but I followed up on it. And his sister came out. And you won't believe this. His sister is half black.
Oh my God.
His sister is black. And then, like, they posted stuff from his personal Facebook page, and he said the Black Lives Matter movement is garbage, and that all lives matter, and all. Now you should lose your push for that. Now, is it like with me when it comes to this color thing, it's zero tolerance for this black shit.
Oh, of course.
But like politics, you can support Trump as much as you want. Boy, trust me, I don't care. Cause
I don't care.
I don't give one fuck. Like
when it's targeted like that, I didn't know that. If it's targeted like that, and he's like Black Lives Matter, da da da.
No, he said black. Like he said, I gotta find it for you when I get a chance. But he said Black Lives Matter, like the Black Lives Matter movement is garbage. He's sick of this garbage movement, and that all lives matter and all this. And it was like a 2-paragraph post, and like nah. And he did blackface too. Like shit was coming out about this guy. Like people really dug into him, and he had like he painted like his whole body was like black, and like he was impersonating somebody from a movie or something. Like he is racist, like for real. Like he should lose his push based off that part, not supporting Trump. I didn't have a problem with the tweet because I don't expect anything more out of somebody who looks like that. I mean, we all profile. It is what it is. When you look like that and you're from where you are and you're a wrestler, I expect you to think that way. Cool, like it is what it is.
Things like that, whatever. But if you're gonna say out of pocket stuff like that, yeah, I think he is losing his push. I don't really care.
I didn't know he was getting pushed. I thought he was a job guy.
Forgotten Sons indeed, am I right?
Yeah, right. And then his tag partner distanced himself. He was like, I got nothing to do with this one.
It's Wesley Blake and the other guy, right?
Steven Cutler or Brandon Cutler or some Cutler.
I don't know.
Either way, man, we wasn't watching him anyways. It doesn't matter. Give me your top 5 Jackson Riker match. Okay.
Number 1, Jackson Riker versus Black Twitter.
Yeah, right. Anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here?
I mean, just nothing. Just a final note. If you are a wrestler, if you're a booker, if you're anybody involved in, specifically in this case, the wrestling industry, but in any entertainment industry, and you have abused anybody in some way, your time will come. You will get called out, and people will know you for the terrible, awful person that you are. And I hope you do get called out, because some things like that have no place in any form of entertainment. In anything that we do in this world, there's no place for that. And everything that happens in the dark will come out in the light, and that's just all I really have to say on that issue, I guess.
Simple as that. Go ahead, get your Instagrams and Twitters and all that, whatever you need plugged.
My Instagram and my Twitter are both Cheyenne Riviera. Please put that in the description, because spelling my name is a doozy. I tweet about wrestling. I tweet about things going on in the world, news, specifically New York related news, but just everything. I love to have conversations with people. Please tweet at me. I love, especially if you think differently than me, I love to have conversations with people who just think vastly different than me. That's always fun. But just be cool. Bella Twins for Hall of Fame.
They were supposed to go in this year, wasn't they?
I know. I was gonna be so perfect.
I hope they give those guys an opportunity to do it next year. I hope they just do the same Hall of Fame next year. Because I wanted to see a couple of those. I wanted to see Batista and the Bellas and the NWO one. So that kind of sucked. But anyways, what is my Twitter now? Do you know it? I think it's the Big Meer.
No, is it? I think it's either the Big Meer or Big Meer. It's really hard. Adding you is like the worst thing ever, because I don't know what your Twitter @ is, or your Instagram or anything.
I think both of them is. I think I changed everything to the Big Meer. I think my Snapchat is Super Big Meer, but
I hate you.
Just type in Big Meer on something. Ain't no way. Like, nobody else has his name. You'll find me. Anyways, other than that, guys, and Cheyenne, everybody be safe. Stay in the house as much as possible. Try not catch nothing. Beware of police. And just stay safe. Just stay safe, man. Stay safe. Keep learning. It's Juneteenth, actually, so shout out to that. It's Juneteenth. So
I don't know if this is gonna get posted today, but we did record this on Juneteenth.
We did it. No, yeah, I'm posting it right after this. Because what day is it?
If you don't know what Juneteenth is, learn about it. Put some links in there for people to look at it. Juneteenth is really cool, and people should know about it.
Yeah. We can't explain everything to you guys. Go ahead and look up Google Juneteenth. Learn some history.
Your black friends are not your Google. Please learn some things yourself.
All right, let's get out of here. Yeah, it's 1 hour and 8. We did good. We said 40 minutes. They'll like it. People will fuck with it.
Yeah.
All right.